and recording at the same time. That's right. Okay, so here is the task for today. Reviewing Excel. Going to practice a few things. Conditional formatting, creating some charts, doing some absolute reference practice, and a basic budget table. I'm going to be focusing on the things that most people miss. I'm going to skip over the easy stuff, but if you have something that you don't understand along the way, stop me and we'll work over that too. But I'm looking at, as I think of past finals, what people generally miss, and I'm hoping to help you ace the final by giving you a chance to practice this. If you look over there on Schoology, you should see, if I go to Schoology here, if I go to this course, you should see underneath assignments, down at the bottom, you have Excel practice for the final and earn extra credit. So once we're done today, you'll be able to upload this and have some extra credit to make up for any mistakes in the past. Give you a little chance at some grace here. All right, so I'm going to start a blank Excel project. And first thing we'll do is put our name in here, JSmart Excel Review and Practice. What's the date today? Oh, you can put today's date if you like. Fall 2023. Okay, first thing we'll do is let's do some practice at some conditional formatting. Well, we need some numbers to conditionally format. Let's do some X numbers. These will be our X values that will later be graphing as a cool function. And let's give it some values of, how about -10, and we'll then skip to -8, and then we'll continue that sequence of numbers. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Select those two. Remember, when you have two cells and you select them and fill handle, it will continue that sequence of numbers in the similar, whatever difference there was between those two numbers. So they were differing by 2. It continued adding 2 to each number. So there's my X values. And let's have some conditional formatting applied to that. And then we'll do more fun things with these numbers. Let's select the numbers we're going to apply conditional formatting to, and we go to conditional formatting. And remember, with conditional formatting, there's lots of conditional formatting built in. Don't worry about learning about those. Those are fun things for you. We want to give you complete control over your own conditional formatting. We're always going to go to the new rule. And under the new rule, we're not going to worry about anything except the format cells that contain, where we can specify the formatting based on the contents of the cell. That's what this means. Format cells that contain. And now you'll be given instructions. In this case, let's do negative values with red background. So let's do cell value less than 0. Now I get to decide what format goes with that condition, the cell value of those selected cells being less than 0. So I'll go to Format, and now I can choose the style of the number, the font, the border, or the fill. Let's choose a fill of a reddish light. How about an orange? Let's do fill of orange. Ooh, that's an annoying orange. Let's do a lighter, little more pastel orange, easier on the eyes. And I click OK, and OK, and I see that is formatted that way. So let's fill in what the conditional format you might be given in a test. Format, let's do negative numbers, yellowish background. How about positive green background, green border and background, and greater than 5 let's give them a green font. Just for some practice at our formatting. So you'll be given instructions, something like that. It'll be telling you the numbers in the box above or something. Conditionally format with these conditions. So we have already done the negative numbers with a yellowish background. We want to apply the other conditional formatting now. Well, to do that, I already have conditional formatting, so I can add to the formatting that's already there. To do that, I need to select the cells that I'm going to apply that conditional formatting to before I go up to change it. So remember, you always want to select the cells you're going to conditionally format and then add another rule. I could go to Manage Rules and see I have a rule there, and I can do the new rule from there too. So I could add a rule or Manage Rules, and now I go New Rule. And the rule is going to be cells that contain. This time, what did I say? The positive green border and background. All right, so positive means cell value greater than greater than or equal to 0. That's a definition of positive. Greater than or equal to 0. Now the format is green border and green background. So let's go now to format. There's the fill. We'll give it a light green fill. And the border would be the boundary. The border will be, let's give it a solid border with a color of a dark green. And have you noticed you can't adjust the width of your border? I don't see any way to adjust the width of my border. I can only adjust the color of it and the position of it. There is no, in Excel, there is no border width. It's a fixed width. So there's the green border. Oh, and green fill. I almost forgot the green fill. Let's go to green fill. Oh, there, yeah, it did do the green fill. And okay. And there it gives me an example. There you can hardly see the darker green border. And click OK. And there, do I see it? Let's do apply. Now I see the green fill applied. And also, do you notice where the new rule went? The new rule went above the current rules. Now we have a third rule though we're asked to apply. If it's greater than 5, apply a green font. Well, let's do that. Let's do new rule, cells that contain, cell value greater than, type in the number 5, and the green font. Format, font, color, and let's make it a bright green so I can tell that it definitely did go green. I click OK. Click apply. OK, and then now I click apply, and lo and behold, I do see 6, 8, and 10 got a green font applied. Something to keep in mind, although you likely don't run into multiple conditional formattings. Notice when I add a new rule, it goes above the current rule. And the order will make a difference. If I make that the second rule by moving it down and then do apply, oh, it still gets the green font. Oh, and I guess it's applying because it's not fighting with another font applied. If this had said make it a black font, I think it would not have applied because it would not go down to the next rule. So typically, we'll leave it in the order it gives us. As you add new rules, it adds them in front of the other rules. Sometimes if the rules are conflicting, the first one wins. But that's something you'll have to test to see if it works the way you expect. If it's not working the way you expect, you may have to mess with the stop if true checkbox, which we didn't worry about in our main assignment because we only applied one conditional formatting. But remember, if you ever apply multiple rules, you can go back to Manage Rules. With the cell selected, you can manage the rules being applied to those cells. And one by one, you can edit the rules or remove them to your heart's content. So there's a little practice with conditional formatting. There will be an assignment like that on the final. It'll tell you something like, format the numbers above that are currently outlined above. Apply particular conditional formatting. Now you know what to do. Select them, conditional formatting, new rule, cell that contains. And then the rest is working with the logic there of what was the condition. Okay? All right, now let's do a little bit more. Let us also practice a little bit of graphing. So let's put in some y values because I like xy graphs. Now for the y value, let's make up a function. And for our function, we're going to have a, b, c, and d value for our function. Let's make a 1, b 2, c 3, and d 4. So here's going to be a function. It's going to be equal to a, the value there, times the value in x to the third power. To the third power. Plus the b number times x to the second power plus the value for c, b10 times x plus d. A third order polynomial that I can mess with the a, b, and c values of for my polynomial. And just for fun, let's make the a part, let's make that be a negative 1. Yeah. Yeah. So the formula, oops, what happened? It didn't like something about that. What did it like? Oh, how did it get a B6 in there? That should be a B8. Oops. B8 times, yeah, B6, that's right. B6 times B8 to the third power. Sorry, B8 times B6 to the third power. And it's complaining, though. What is it complaining about?
Because it doesn't recognize x squared. Or that weird x at the end.
It worked for me before. Let me change that back to a 1. Oh, it doesn't like that. Let me try that, negative 1. I got fancy here, and what is it not liking? It has all the right. I did x squared before and it didn't have a problem. Or maybe I wasn't. Why is it not liking my formula? B11, B10, B9, B8. Oh, I'm putting x here. I shouldn't be putting x there. That is B6. I was thinking math from my. There we go. It doesn't know what x is. B6 is my x. That's what my problem was. I can't type the letter x. It's where the x is, B6. Now I have a formula, and now I can fill handle that formula over. Oh, but I have a problem. As I fill handle over, all my references to the A, B, C, D values need to be absolute value. B8 can't move when I copy the formula over, so I select on B8 and hit F4 to put absolute value around that one. B9, absolute value, F4. B10 is an absolute reference to that value there, and the same for B11. Now I can copy my formula over. So a little practice at absolute cell referencing here for you in a very exciting algebra function, because I just love algebra, and now I can modify my A, B, C, D values and my function will change its shape. Do you see why I'm putting dollars around the B8? Because B8 is the number I want to be multiplying by as I fill handle all the way over, get all my y values. So this is basically an algebra function, ax to the third plus bx to the x squared plus cx plus d, now with my choice of what the values of a, b, c, and d are. A basic third order polynomial. Everybody got the formula in there? Now those of you algebra nerds, you're excited about this because this is like, hey, I'm doing algebra in Excel. Okay, I hit enter now and I get the result, and now I can fill handle that function over all the way over to the right, and it gives me a calculation of a third order polynomial. You don't see the excitement of this until you graph it now. So I have these numbers. There's my formula. Fill handled over. And now I'm ready to graph it. So let's practice some graphing now. The whole purpose of this not only was to practice your absolute referencing, but now to practice creating a chart. And we don't want a boring line chart. We want an interesting curve. So I'm going to, first of all, just select the results of my function. And now let's make a chart of that. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And I'm going to do an insert. And let's see what charts it recommends first. And right away it recommends multiple charts. Doesn't recommend the line chart first, but that's the one I want. Let's see what other charts are available for line charts. Let's see. Line, stacked line, 100% stacked line, line with markers, stacked line with markers, 100% stacked, or a 3D-ish chart. Let's do the line chart with markers just for fun, and click OK. Because it doesn't know my x values, it's just assigning numbers to my data points, but it does give me a somewhat interesting little curve. Now what's cool about this, that you get you excited for algebra, is I can change my b values. Let's increase, let's see, let's increase that one. Let's make that a -2. And it changes the shape of my chart. Let's make that a 4. It changes the shape of my chart just because the value changed there. And let's increase C. Let's make that a 8. Make it somewhat interesting. If I increase the A value to large, let's make that a 10, then it reverses the direction. So I can play with A, B, C, and D, and my chart will change because I am charting whatever shows up in those cells. Now you will be giving some fairly mundane things like, give it a good chart title. To do that, just double click on the title and replace the text with polynomial. And remember with charts, I can then do the plus here. I can decide what to show. Data labels to see what number is on that. That might be interesting in this chart, as long as it doesn't make too much noise in the chart. I can actually show the data table. That gets a little too much, so I'll turn off the data table. But how about I do have the, let's put it in axis titles. So axis title, let's make that the Y. I'll just call that Y, and I'll call this X. Oops. Replace the title. X. If I ever want to increase the font size of anything, I simply select it and Control-Shift greater than. I can adjust my font size, and to know what the actual font size is, I have to go to the Home tab. Let's see, we'll right-click, let me choose font size. Yeah, I can choose there, and I can see font size there too. But the Home tab also shows me my font size of what I have selected. But there's a right-click you can use as well if you want to adjust your font. You will be asked to adjust the font in your table chart. All right, let's do another table just for fun. Let's do an XY by selecting both the Y and the X, and let's see what recommended charts come out for that. So insert, recommended charts. It doesn't give me the scatter chart that I was hoping for. Let's look for all charts. Let's go to scatter chart. And I like the scatter charts that show me the two lines with the X and the Y giving me my results. And I click, I'll click XY with smooth lines and markers. And I click OK. And it gives me that chart. A little more like what I would see in my algebra class when I'm doing graphs. And I'll give that a title as well. Let's call that XY scatter. XY scatter. And watch what happens if I adjust my A, B, C, and D. Let's bring A back down to a smaller value. Let's make A back down to -1. It adjusts my scale of my scatter chart automatically for me, as well as the polynomial chart. That's a nice thing about Excel. It auto adjusts your scaling. Let's make that -0.5. Now it's getting a little more interesting. And notice my scale is also adjusting there. So adjusting to 824. And I'm going to change my B a little smaller so it doesn't go so large. I'll make that a 2. And automatically scaling both of my charts. And I can adjust my title there as well. Control-Shift greater than, or right-click, font, give it a specific font size. If you're given a specific font size, the right-click or the Home tab is probably the easiest. Home tab shows you your font size. Okay, I think that's enough with charts. Remember with the charts, you can adjust them, and there's a lot of auto-adjusting. If the numbers change, the charts will change because they are referencing the values of those cells. So pretty slick charting available to you in Excel. If you ever want to do anything fancier with charting, I would recommend this website. We call it geogebra.org. Geogebra.org lets you play with lots of graphing. You simply give it a function over here, and it will graph it for you. Like let's graph x squared. X caret 2. Or let's add another graph. Let's do x to the 4th power. Or x to the 5th power. It'll graph all those things for you, and you can zoom in on your graphs and see the exciting things that the numbers are doing. Okay, back to Excel. So we've created some numbers, created charts. Now let's do a couple things. Let's do some practice with the if formula. Another thing that a lot of people miss that you're not going to miss because you're practicing here. If formula. And let's do some standard type of things for if formula. Let's do a quota, the bonus, and then we'll do my performance, my bonus. The quota is 1,000. The bonus is $900. My performance is right now 901. Do I get the bonus? Well, yeah, I've met the quota. No, I haven't met the quota. I've only got 901. I do not get a bonus, but once I reach 1,000, I should get my bonus. So let's enter the if formula so I receive my bonus. Now you might be given a sentence, or you might just be given this and said, okay, use the if formula to calculate your bonus. I'll spell it out just to make it a little easier. I receive the value, I gotta spell receive right. I receive the value of the bonus when I meet or exceed the quota. Based on that sentence, or on just the view of the graph, the if formula that goes here would be equals if. And what is the logical test? From the sentence, I meet or exceed the quota. Well, I means my performance meets or exceeds the quota, which is there. So my performance is here. Needs to meet or exceed. That would be greater than or equal to. I don't think there's such a thing as an equal or greater to. It's always greater than or equal. And then the quota is up there in B23. There is the condition. Meet or exceed the quota. My performance meets or exceeds the quota. Now I have to do the other part of that if formula, the value if true. So I type comma. Well, what is the value if true? Well, it's the bonus, which is there in B24. That's the value of that bonus I will get. And otherwise, what do I get for my bonus? Nothing. 0. If I don't type a 0, I'll get the word false. I'd rather see a 0 there than a strange word false for my bonus. And I hit enter, and there I see. Right now my bonus is 0, but if I do exceed it by going 1001 in my performance, now I do see the bonus. Just for fun, let's add conditional formatting so that turns green, the font turns green when I receive a bonus. So let's do conditional formatting, new rule, cells that contain cell value greater than 0. I don't even have to put equal to bonus. I can say it's greater than 0. Set the format to be font of color green. And let's make it bold too. Can we make it bold? Font style bold. Green and bold if I've met the bonus. Okay, and now I see the bonus. If my performance drops to 999, oh, it went back to 0. No green. Oh, there was a typo. It was 9,999. Yes, I do get the bonus. If I exceed the bonus by that much, I think I should get more than the bonus. So the if formula, there's a little practice at the if formula. From a word problem, you have to come up with the if formula. Let's do another one just for practice at the if formula, and I'll give you a sentence this time. First of all, we'll do dependents. Right now I have 3 dependents. Percent tax is 5%. And dependent credit is $1,000. All right, my income is $50,000. All right. So my tax, I'll put here, my tax I'm going to calculate. All right. The tax rules given in the government manual are tax is equal to percent or 0 if dependents, if more than 2 dependents. We're incentivizing having more than 2 children. No taxes if you have more than 2 children. Well, that would make it an if formula. If it were simply multiply dependents by some value, I wouldn't need an if formula. But oftentimes you'll run across a whole different rule if some condition is true. So in this case, no taxes if we have more than 2 dependents. So what would that be? Well, let's see here. Equal if. The condition is more than 2 dependents. Well, that would be the dependents greater than 2. That's the condition. Well, in that case, my tax is what? 0. If I have greater than 2 dependents, I have no tax. Otherwise, my tax is the percent of my income. Otherwise, it's percent of income times, my tax percent times my income. If we're simply a formula dealing with dependents, you get a credit for every dependent, I wouldn't even worry about the dependent credit. Here, with the special rule, or we could say otherwise it's a percent of taxes plus the number of dependents times your dependent credit. Let's change the rule here. It's equal to percent, equal to percent minus number of dependents times your credit, dependent credit. Just to make it a little more complicated, like they like to do with government formulas. For tax percent minus credits for each dependent. So let's change that formula. It's my percent taxes minus the number of dependents times 1,000, or times what's in that dependent credit. I'm still paying zero tax because my dependents are greater than 2. Watch what happens if I change that to 2. My tax went down. If I have 0 dependents, I pay more taxes. So 0 to 1 to 2 dependents, I do get some credits. If I have 3 dependents or more, I pay 0 tax. So big incentive to have more than 2 children.
Can we see that formula again?
Sure. So I added the little more complexity to include the dependents. So there is my if formula. 0 tax if my dependents are greater than 2. And then percent tax minus a credit for every dependent. Just to make it a little more interesting. And it is typical, you do get a credit for dependents of some sort. So this is where the if formula comes in handy, when there is a special rule that you can't express mathematically. Here I can express this mathematically. Percent of my income minus the dependents times my credit. That's mathematical. But they do have very often in government rules or in any type of regulation, or a whole special formula if you meet some other criteria. And often it's even way more complicated than this. There's multiple levels. If you have more than 10 children, then there's even something better for you, and you can't put a mathematical formula. The ideal is just give me a mathematical formula no matter what. Well, government doesn't work that way. They always throw in something to gain votes, to incentivize particular behavior in the taxes. And that's what's so dangerous about taxing, is it's used to change behavior, and depending on who your leaders are, that behavior is not always the type of behavior you're agreeing on. But they control that through taxing. I think the insurance companies have way more power than the government these days. They can decide, no matter if it's what you're doing something legal, the insurance companies can say, oh, we're not going to cover that for insurance if you do that, like have a trampoline in your backyard. Okay, now let's see, that's the formula. Oh, let's just do a few functions. Let's do the calculate average of function above. Well, that's these numbers way up here. There's my functions. So the average would be equal average, or if I don't remember that, I could go over to here and see, oh, there's the function average. It gives me average empty parentheses. Now what goes in the parentheses I can either type by coming up here and seeing, oh, that's cell B6 all the way out to L6, and I remember it's B6 colon L6, or more easily, or actually not B6, it's B7. I want to calculate the average of the results. I can just drag through that. It fills in for me the proper referencing of a multiple cells. B7 colon L7. That would give me the average. And I hit enter, and I have the average. I can do the same thing for min and max. Let's just do a min equal min, left parenthesis, and drag through the numbers I want to get the min of. And again, it would be the function that I graphed, just for fun. Hit enter, and it gives me the result. I can always go back and see the numbers it was referring to. Let's do just one more. Suppose you don't know, or you don't have it here, the function that we're looking for. I can always go to more functions and look for the function that perhaps is being asked for. Like, give me the count of all the cells that contain numbers. Well, I would give you a hint like, look for something with count in it. Let's see, what do we have? Something. Let's see. Let's go down in the C's here. Rolling my scroll wheel. Count. Oh, look, there's multiple count functions. Let's start with the first one. Count. Counts the number of cells in a range that contain numbers. Oh, that sounds what he's looking for. So I can just double click count. And now it pops me into a function arguments dialog, basically putting in parentheses the things that I'm counting. Well, let's count all the values from, let's go from A1 all the way down to row 37, all the way out to column Z. So I can put in here A1 colon, let's do Z37. I don't want to do Z38 because to include your function in the reference to what's being calculated is called a circular reference, and it gives you an unhappy message if you ever do that. So I want to count the value, all the cells that have something in them, but only the cells above me. And I click OK. And I see that 37 cells all the way up to row 37 out to column Z have numbers in them. Sometimes that count function is kind of useful. And if I put another number out here, I should see that count of numbers jump to 38. Sometimes it's useful, like if you're averaging numbers, count the cells that have entries in them. There's a ton more useful functions that you can explore if you want to be in Excel more knowledgeable than your average person in Excel. I don't expect you to be an Excel expert, but the more you can learn about Excel, the more valuable you will be as an employee. I have had many students come back not thanking me about the skills they learned in Word, because who likes to write papers and documents all the time? There's some people that do. And Word is more about your writing than learning the tool of Word. But so many people have come and said, the things I learned in Excel, I use them on my job. And so I'm hoping you will explore these things and play around and work hard at learning a little bit more about Excel. That will put you at the top of the list. And if in an interview they're talking about, do you have computer skills? Oh yeah, I do. Oh, and I know how to do some functions with Excel. Ooh, they're gonna say, oh, put your resume at the top. Everybody knows Word and PowerPoint. If you can show knowledge of Excel, you will do better in that interview with the expected computer skills. Now let's do a quick little budget table in the short time we have left. Let's just do a beginning balance. Oh, we need the month as well. Let's do beginning balance. We'll do the month of January for next year's budget, and you got to spell it right so I can get the auto fill of my months to work. Beginning balance of $1 million. Let's do an income of $900,000. We're big business here. Let's do expenses of total expenses of 800,000. And now do our ending balance. Now I've given you an easy one because we're running out of time, but this is something that you will be expected to fill in. Ending balance, what would the formula be? Beginning balance plus income minus expenses. Now you will be giving something slightly more complicated, like multiple items in income and multiple items that give you total expenses, but your essential ending balance will be beginning balance plus your total income minus your total expenses. Now, February's beginning income is going to be the same as January's ending income. Remember how we referred to that? Equal, and then the reference to that other cell. You don't have to type in that number. Some people mistakenly type in that value. No, you type in the calculated value of the whatever shows up in that cell. Now I can fill handle over my expected income and expenses and ending balance. And now to fill handle the rest of my table, including the name of the month, because it's auto-filling month names, I can slide that to the right and calculate my income. Something that most people forget, even though it's easy points, put these numbers in accounting format. Whenever you do an accounting table, always, always, always put them in at least comma style, and it looks more like a professional accounting table. And last thing I'm going to do is put it in alternating colors by selecting through, including my month names, format as table, choose a format, click OK, and I'm going to convert that top column, or just convert to range right now, so I don't have the silly little pull down handles. Convert to range right now, and now I have a decent looking table with alternating colors applied. So you can format as table and then just convert to range to make it a nicely formatted table, alternating colors, and I think it will remember alternating even if I add more rows. Let's see if it happens. Add a row. Oh no, it doesn't keep alternating. It doesn't adjust the alternation. Okay, that was a quick practice through Excel. We can do some more of this. If anything went over a little too quick for you, we'll do more on Monday to finish up your knowledge. We are done. You can save this and upload to Schoology as extra credit for just practicing your Excel skills. And I call it JSmart Excel Practice. This has been recorded, so you can review anything. If I went quickly over something, it's because you can always go back and play through that if you like.